And finally, in terms of things that catch my attention and are increasingly important in our increasingly visual world, great photos or video. I'd like to illustrate that by showing you this photo of a young man, Bokang Rakabaeli, whom I met in Lesotho in southern Africa. He's 8 years old in this picture, clearly very underweight, suffering from tuberculosis, HIV positive, other opportunistic infections. At the time this photo was taken in May of last year, the HIV was affecting his brain. So things did not look very good, and unfortunately this is the image that many of us have of disease in the developing world, and your heart goes out to this young man. It's all very sad. And then here's Bokang just last December, and you can see him with his aunt. He's clearly gained weight. He's just finishing up in this photo his TB medication, his 6 months course of TB drugs. He's on antiretrovirals, and just a cute little and very happy kid. And this is the kind of image that I've been trying to get across at Time and elsewhere, really encouraging people to show success. And so the difference, the before and after, I can't tell you how stunning it was internally within Time magazine among people who thought that they were quite sophisticated. They were blown away by the before and after shots in this. So great video, great photos are very important.
One of the things that I've really found about blogging is that it really benefits from the interconnectivity and the conversation between other blogs. It's not, I think, quite as zero-sum as perhaps the magazine and the newspaper business, where you're competing for a fixed sum of readership. Blogs benefit by the conversations they have with one another. And if you start a blog and you can get a high-profile blog to link into you, one, it just builds awareness. Again, there's 90 million, one every half second, so people just don't know that you exist. And the second thing it does is that it validates you. You have a trusted voice saying, hey, these are people, here's somebody that's worth listening to. So we've tried hard to respond to and blog about education commentary that is made by some of the higher profile blogs with the hopes that they'll link back to us, again, as a means of building readership. And I think that all things considered, that's worked for us, and we seem to continue to be on an upward trend. And so one of our audiences are some other people who do education policy at the New America Foundation. Again, the audience for the blog tends to be people who are really interested in these same issues. And they wrote a little post about it and said, oh, this is really interesting. And again, kind of getting that cross-pollination of one blog to another. And then I got a call from sort of my counterpart over the New America Foundation who said, hey, we think this is really interesting. Maybe we could try to make a little chart for the newspaper out of it. And so we did, and we submitted it to the Washington Post, and they ran it in the Sunday Outlook section on March 25th. And so by this time, and you can see this is what the graph looked like, by this time we were down to the Sweet 16. And so what they basically did was they took the Sweet 16 and said, well, what would happen if the college with the highest graduation rate won the national championship? And so the national championship would have been between Butler and Vanderbilt, and Butler would have won with an 82% graduation rate. That's not the way it worked out, because winning in college basketball and graduating your basketball players aren't actually two things that go together very well, which is unfortunate. But it was just, again, it was a different way of kind of highlighting an issue that we were worried about. Got us in the Washington Post in the Outlook section, and then a few days later I got a call from an editorial writer at the Post who said, we really thought that was interesting, we want to follow up. And so on March 31st, the Washington Post ran an editorial about this issue. Go Georgetown, basically saying, hey, we're really happy that Georgetown is in the Sweet 16, or at this point, I think they were headed for the Final Four at this point, but their graduation rates kind of suck, and it would really be great if they could do both of those things at the same time. And so this really did two things for us. One, again, it built awareness about an issue that we as an organization are really trying hard to build awareness around. But also it got the name education sector in the Washington Post, first in the outlet section and then in the editorial page. And for a new organization, that's really important. It builds our brand, it builds awareness, it validates us, it makes our funders happy. It gets us out there, kind of in the public eye, in the public conversation.
When I came on board, there were a couple of goals I wanted in when I was sort of envisioning what the One blog could be. One, I wanted to show who the One campaign is. It's not just the celebrities in our TV commercials. It's real members and real volunteers, and who is it that's making the One campaign happen and work on a day-to-day basis. And two, what does the campaign do? Because what does ending poverty mean on a day-to-day basis? And finally, to set it within the framework of tracking the movement. So, as we all know, with a good blog, you need a lot of good content coming all the time. So I sat down and I made a 7-page memo about my blog plan, where I thought that content could come from. And I saw 4 departments around me. So the basic takeaways that I wanted to leave you with was, one, that I think success of the One blog was due to total integration with the whole campaign, getting every department to be fully invested and to see the value that the blog will bring to them. And two, to align your blog's mission with the mission of your organization so that success for one turns into success for the other.
Our rhetoric about why we're a museum and why we're important and why the government should have an art museum, we're about you guys. The director stands in the conference room and points out at the street and says, this is their museum. Take it to them. We're a very populist organization, and we pitched, that's what a blog is really about. It's about connecting individuals to individual stories in the collection. There are 1,000 epiphanies waiting to happen at the museum. We just need to find the right one that makes sense to you. Kind of a straw man, but we also said, hey, in 5 years, we're going to wake up and everyone's just going to presume that this kind of interactive discourse is part of what websites are. It's a blog now and it's got this new cutting edge title and you can have a pierced lip and nose and be very cool with it, but it's going to be mainstream very quickly. You get thrown out of enough offices pitching a blog and you start to rethink your strategy. So we said, okay, what we want to do is have this website where we're publishing content a lot. We speak in a less formal voice. It's managed, content management engine, which takes care of some workflow and some publishing drudgery, calendar-based. So, hey, what did they say on this day? Sequential posting. And built in, we presume that the public's going to want to comment to us and everything's set up to do that pretty smoothly. And people go, oh, that sounds great, I want that. And then you say, but we don't want a blog. We talked some at the Gilbane conference last summer about this. There's a lot of purists out there in the blogosphere that think a blog has to be a certain particular way. You have to be a curmudgeon, you have to be provocative, you have to be controversial. And I'm here to say, be bold. It's not true. Blog is a serial publishing idiom, and it's up to you guys to decide how it makes most sense to use in your organization, if at all.